Why we love the gentle giant archetype. Strength is often loud, a flash of power, a roar that silences everything around it. And in anime, strength is often about standing above everyone else, but not always. Sometimes, the strongest character in the story is the one who never fights to be seen. They carry their weight in silence. They bleed behind a smile. And when they fall, you finally understand they weren't a side character, they were the very foundation. The dental giant, a contradiction on the surface, monstrous in size, kind in heart. These are the characters defined. These are the characters designed to be feared, yet exist to protect. They could dominate, but instead they choose restraint. Their strength isn't measured in victories, but in their refusal to do harm. And why do we love them? Because their strength was never for them, it was always for someone else. And that's a lesson many of us forget. So today we're going to explore the best depictions of the gentle giant trope in anime. So let's begin. Oars Jr., the gentle giant of Marineford. In a war of monsters and legends, one unexpected hero stood tall. Literally. Oars Jr., an only giant, born for battle, but forever remembered for kindness. In a war about bloodlines and kings, Oars Jr. showed something else. That sometimes all it takes is a small act of kindness to move even a giant's heart. To most, Oars was a weapon, a monster. But Ace, he saw a friend. He treated Oars like a person, and that simple warmth was enough fire to light the giant's heart. He didn't fight for glory, he didn't fight for power. He fought for one reason only, because someone once cared about him. And that's what makes Oars Jr. the perfect gentle giant. Because here's the truth. Being built for destruction doesn't mean you have to be a weapon. The world saw a monster. He chose to be something else. And that's the heart of this archetype. Using strength not to conquer, but to protect. Choosing loyalty over violence. Choosing heart over hatred. Our story reminds us, no amount of strength shields you from heartbreak. No size protects you from loss. He was a giant, but in the end, when he fell not as a warrior, but as a friend. In a war of legends, Oars Jr. proved, being powerful isn't about how big you are, it's about how big your heart is. Reiner Braun, the armored titan. Reiner was never the strongest, not in the way people thought, but he looked the part. In his titan form, he was 15 meters tall, hardened plates of armor, unmovable, unbreakable. To the world, he was strength itself, a living fortress, a weapon forged for war. But you see, where others saw unbreakable strength, Reiner wore something else entirely. A suit of armor, forged not from pride, but from fear. His titan form wasn't just a power, it was a prison. Every plate of hardened skin, every joint reinforced, symbolized a single truth. Reiner had to protect himself, not from enemies, but from the world's expectations. He was the wall his people relied on, the shield his friends never doubted, and the failure he could never, and the failure he couldn't forgive, because that was what was expected of him. He was not allowed to fall. He wasn't allowed to break. And that's the tragedy of the gentle giant trope, archetype. They carry the burden of duty so quietly that no one notices when it crushes them. Reign the Titan form is a perfect matter how duty destroys self-worth. His strength became his prison, because when you're the one everyone leans on, you're not seen as someone who can fall. You're just the wall that must stand strong. And when your value is measured only by how much you can endure, you stop seeing yourself as human at all. And there lies the tragedy of the gentle giant. In the end, Reiner didn't collapse from failure. He collapsed from isolation, from forgetting he was allowed to be more than his role. The world assumes their strength means they're fine. That's because they don't ask, they don't need. But being relied on isn't the same as being cared for. Reiner, who was loved for what he could do, and not for who he was. And over time, he forgot there was a difference. Reiner teaches us that being strong doesn't mean you're okay. That those who carry the most often ask for the least help. And that pretending to be unbreakable is its own kind of weakness. Because no one, not even a giant, can carry everything forever. Bartholomew Kuma, the mad tyrant. If every gentle giant had a tragedy, then Kuma might be the greatest of them all. Bartholomew Kuma wasn't always a monster. He wasn't always a machine. He was born a slave, a descendant of a forgotten royal bloodline, hunted, chained, and branded as less than human. From birth, the world decided that he wasn't allowed to be. To them, Kuma was a giant to be tamed, a threat to be controlled, a tool to be used. And yet, he never stopped choosing kindness. Even as a boy, when freedom was nothing but a dream, Kuma carried others on his back. Not because he was supposed to, but because he wanted to. Because no one else could. But fate is cruel to those with kind hearts. For Kuma, freedom meant war, and peace required sacrifice. He joined the revolutionaries, not to lead, but to protect. He made himself a weapon, so no one else would have to. Until even that choice was stolen from him. Piece by piece, his body was transformed, his mind rewritten, his memories stripped away, until the world looked at him and saw nothing but a machine. But not you, and not me. Because beneath the still frame, beneath the silent gaze, Kuma was still human. A man who chose to sacrifice everything. His body, his mind, his memories. All to protect a future he would never see. He smiled even as he watched his identity erased. He endured as his own allies called him a monster. Because that's what a gentle giant does. They carry the burden no one else can. They suffer in silence so others won't have to. And so Kuma, dare I say, he is the greatest of them all. Kuma's power wasn't random. The poor fruit let him repel anything, pain, memories, and even people. It wasn't just a strange ability, it was his life story in power form. A man who spent his life pushing everything away, not to protect himself, but to protect everyone else. Born a slave, raised in chains, yet he chose to carry the pain of others, both literally and figuratively. Because that's what a gentle giant does. His power let him remove suffering, but not his own. And even as his body was stripped, his mind erased, and his name forgotten, Kuma endured in silence. A wall for others, a shield no one thanked, a monster to the world, but a guardian in disguise. The man who could repel anything could never repel the cost of his own sacrifice. And that's why Bartholomew Kuma isn't just the greatest gentle giant. He's a reminder that sometimes the biggest and the strongest hide the kindest of hearts. And the largest of giants carry the heaviest of sorrows. From Oars Jr. to Reiner and Pinnacle Kuma, each shows a simple yet painful truth. The largest of characters often carry the quietest pain. Because when you're built like a weapon, the world expects you to act like one. And when you don't, you're ignored, misunderstood, or worse, forgotten. That's why the gentle giant is so powerful. They redefine strength, not as violence, but as sacrifice. Not as domination, but as protection. And not as pride, but as compassion. And perhaps that's the most terrifying strength of all. So the next time you see a giant, ask yourself, are they fighting because they want to? Or are they fighting because no one gave them the choice? And that was the video. Thank you for watching. If you want a full dedicated breakdown on Kuma, Oars, or Reiner, do let me know in the comments below. And if you got your own favorite gentle giant, drop their name. This video was part of my The Greatest / Most in Anime series. So drop suggestions of any other archetypes you'd like me to cover, and the most likely will get the video. But this has been me from Blessed Visions, where we break the anime into what makes you think, feel, and what makes you grow. Like and subscribe, and until next time, ciao.
ボニーを救ってくれてありがとう。ボニーに会ったらこう伝えてくれないか。10歳の誕生日おめでとう。